Hello, my name is Sir Joseph Hiley. Welcome to the Just for Show show. We have a very creatively focused episode today, where Ted Hajanowski will interview Sir Tobias Wilson of England. Yes, that England. Tobias Wilson has lent his musical talents to many a Ted Hajanowski song. And in this episode, they'll talk about it. So without further ado, or as they say in England, with closer ado, the Just for Show show.
He wasn't much to look at, but he had a heart of gold. He'd give the shirt off his back just to keep you from being cold. He didn't live perfect, but he tried to live right. He give up his pride just to end the fight.
Right there, trusting me. I didn't ask before I hit record, Toby or Tobias?
Toby's fine. I only really went to use the name Tobias as part of my business, really, because there were going to be fewer Tobiases when you're searching on Google than Toby's. That's all. So everybody knows me as Toby, but the business name really is Tobias Wilson. So.
Yeah, Tobias is that's, I assume that's your proper name.
It is, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I like that name. It's cool. Sounds powerful. Yeah. But either one's, it's not Ted. So there you go. Tobias Wilson, he has played on several of my songs over the last few years now. And I found you on FIVERR.
Yeah.
Which, for those of you who don't know what FIVERR is, you can find people who will do everything from, so you can get artwork done, or I think you might even get your taxes done. There's all kinds of various services, but there are musicians on there for hire. There are other services that do this, but FIVERR has been doing this for quite some time. And Toby, how long have you been working through FIVERR?
I first joined FIVERR in about 2014, I think.
Wow. Okay.
There's a weird story, really. I played the dobro slide resonator guitar for a long time, but I'd always hankered after a pedal steel guitar, and I'd never been able to justify the expense, Ted, because they're expensive things, even the cheapest one. At the time, I wasn't relying on my music income for my living. I'd got a regular job. If I was going to splash out money on a nice instrument, I needed to find a way that instrument would then pay for itself, if you see what I mean. And cleanse my conscience about the credit card bill. So
right.
So I had this idea that if I buy a pedal steel guitar and then put a gig on FIVERR selling pedal steel guitar tracks, then I could justify the expense. The only bit I hadn't really sort of figured out was that I hadn't yet learned how to play the pedal steel guitar, so
I was going to say
risk.
I was going to say that's a pretty bold venture, Like, crap, now I got to learn this right away. But you played amazingly.
It was, to be fair, an awful lot of the technique involved is using a bar and the bar pressure and pick blocking and things like that, which I was used to with playing dobro, and everything else. Because of the different instruments that I play, I do everything in Nashville notation anyway. I don't think of chord names. Everything is intervals based around. I'm sorry, I'm getting techie now, but
like numbers essentially. Right?
Everything about Nashville numbers, yeah. So everything is relative to chord one, whether it's major, minor key, and that's really how the pedal steel works. Once you know the positions of all the different chords, you're just moving stuff up or down.
Oh, sure, that makes sense.
Yeah. So that's really how I got into FIVERR. And then at the time when I first joined FIVERR, I was the only pedal steel player providing that service. And so I think I was lucky that got me noticed earlier on, and I started to become busy. What I do now, for the most part, the thing that keeps me most busy is writing songs from scratch to other people's lyrics.
Okay.
So, from budding songwriters to I love it, Ted. I mean, I love working with established artists like yourself.
He wasn't much to look at, but he had a heart of gold.
But it's just the variety of work. At the moment, I'm currently working on some jobs for a guy in Denmark, rock and roll singer, and he's asked me to produce some tracks. He'll send me some YouTube videos and say, write me a song that sounds like this, and then I'll just sing nonsense melodies over the top. Yeah, la 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 la, and then they will compose the lyrics after.
Okay.
Every day's different, and I'm fortunate now. I quit the day job 12 months ago, and this is all I'm doing now, which is wonderful.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many jobs would you have in a given day?
So the way I work on FIVERR and the way that I've found success in my particular area of work is through always providing free samples for people. I probably did that for you, Ted, originally. I can't remember, but if somebody comes to me for a job, I will generally provide them with a free sample before they order, so they know what they're going to get.
Oh, yeah. I think you might have done. In fact, it's funny that you'll used it for me anyway. Still give those to me before I'm still paying for the job, but you still give them to me like to hear it first. Is that what you're referring to? Or
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because a lot of people will say, I know other FIVERR sellers and other freelancers, won't do the job until the money's secure in the bank, sort of thing. But a lot of the time, my clients want to hear their vocal in the context of their song. Even if it's only 30 seconds, just to see if it's a good fit.
Yeah.
And quite often it's an advantage to the seller as well. And I love, Ted, the other thing I love, I could go on about this for ages. I love working with other musicians as part of, part of this.
Yeah.
I work with singers in particular from all over the world, and that's great.
That was the one thing I loved about working. I worked with a few others through FIVERR, but I've not returned to anybody. It's been like, oh, that's cool, and everybody. You have been the one person. It's like I keep going back. I always tell my wife we're going to England, and I don't even know where I'm going to find you, but we're gonna set up some gigs and play all these songs. Yeah, it's been a cool connection. You think about it, where it's not like we're gonna meet each other in a pub.
No,
that's
true.
The internet has been a great thing for that. And in this day and age where, everybody's doing that. All my friends here in the cities, we're doing that. We're doing the same exact thing now. We're swapping files, and maybe we'll see each other in a couple of months or something.
We don't have many options at the moment, do we, with COVID? All the live stuff obviously is down the pan. I'm just hoping, Ted, that when we're let out again, we're in lockdown here in the UK. I don't know about you guys, but
like a complete shut in your homes, or
not quite. It's not quite a curfew, but we're not supposed to leave the house unless it's for essential activity. So we can exercise once a day. We can go and get shopping. I became a granddad a few days ago for the first time. Yeah,
that's
and I can't go and see the baby.
Yes, that is rough. We have 8 grandkids.
Wow.
Yeah, and our 8th was born last May, and it was their first child. And we've gotten to see her a few times because we quarantined in the summer for a while, so that we could see the baby. And
gotcha.
She doesn't know what we look like without masks.
No, of course.
And now,
where are you, Ted?
In Minnesota, so right in the Midwest of the U.S., kind of northern part of it. We're just below Canada. In fact, people joke that we're part of Canada, and we probably are. We're super cold right now. Yeah, so we've had a lot of it's tough, and it's hopefully vaccine. That thing is becoming more of a reality here. What is it like in England?
The vaccine, I will say, the rollout in the UK has been pretty phenomenal so far. My elderly parents have now, both received the vaccine, which is great. So they're starting with the elderly folk and the vulnerable groups, and then they'll slowly work their way down to us guys. So I think they've said by the end of April, the likes of me, so 50 plus, the age 50 plus will be getting the vaccine. So yeah.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I just hope when it's all over that people will not just go back to normal and will think of live music as being something that is elevated from where it was,
Yeah, I appreciate art and people and, just like conversations. And there are things that I've been guilty of taking a lot of things that have, even live music. As a musician, I could be like, well, I'll go see them next time. I'm tired or whatever. Now, maybe I won't think, you can't do everything, but there's been a lot of procrastination that maybe I won't do. And yeah, like music, art shows, ballet, plays, things that can't go see a play. It's like,
I just hope some of these theatres and live music venues are still there, when the clock turns, when we're able to do it, because so many are closing.
We're the home of Prince, right? And so, Prince and First Avenue, he made First Avenue. The owner of First Avenue was part of the organization, like pushing for Save Our Stages, to not only for like kind of private funding assistance for a lot of these clubs so they don't have to close, but also like pushing the government to try to get some assistance for this kind of thing, because it's been a year now. And
for the freelancers in the UK, musicians in particular, just the way that the furlough scheme and the grants and the rest of it, it hasn't really left them with anything. As the self-employed people, the technicians, the lighting engineers, the associated people, all of the festivals obviously have been. I know I'm friendly with a guy who he basically does monitor mixes on big tours for people.
Okay, yeah.
Everything's just gone, and it's very difficult to claw back and maintain the usual thing. I am incredibly lucky that I fell into the online freelancing stuff at the right time. My work has been busier than ever. And I think that's probably because there are so many more people at home. And that gig I was talking about where I will write a song and produce a song from your lyrics. So there's plenty of people sitting at home going, what shall I do? I might as well write a song. So
and that's interesting, like that in particular. I have a lot of songwriter friends, and some of them it's been very just a prolific time of writing for me. Some of them, it's creativity has dried up just because it's like how these things impact you, and if you get kind of mentally stuck, it really, what do they call it, writer's block? Personally, I started to run into that where I felt like I was drying up in the summer, and the thing that helped me was co-writing. I just hey, let's start writing together and throw things over a wall toward each other, over the internet especially, and it's kind of rejuvenated. So I actually want to do that with you. I think I'm going to hit you up on that. It'd be so fun
anytime.
Write some songs like that. And it's kind of cool to do it, and it's a different method than I would do with my guitar writing.
I should warn you though, Ted, I've probably written the same song 27 times. That's the danger, because we've all got grooves, haven't we? And I've got chord movements and structures that I like, and I tend to gravitate towards those.
It's funny you say that, because I only know so many chords. So just capoing and changing things up and trying to find different ways of presenting what I already have. And I think that's okay. To me, I'm never really worried about whether it's been done. Everything's been done before. So
it's not always about the chords, is it? It's about the delivery. I remember once, Ted, when I first started recording, I was trying to learn about mixing and mastering and how to get a nice vocal take. And I was recording for other people, so I'd get other bands in and singers in. And I would spend hours and hours, trying to replicate sound and referencing it against other people's recordings and stuff. And then one day I had this girl walk into the studio and she sang, and I just sat back and I just realized that, actually, it's about the voice, it's about that source, and more than that, it's about the delivery and the emotion and the way that it's done. You could have recorded that on a $5.99 Bontempi cassette recorder, and it would have blown you away.
Right.
So I'll often say that to session singers. If I've got a new session singer that I'm working with, I think everybody knows now. I can fix pitch, I can fix timing, I can fix plosives and the technical things, but. So I'll say, no, look, what I want you to do is sing as though you mean it. Read the words, Sing it from the heart as if this is you, because there's no software or plug-in that's ever going to be able to create that. You know, that's the human touch.
My favorite singers are the ones who emote. You know, Willie Nelson. People wouldn't consider him he is a great singer, but he's not probably considered one because he's kind of got that dry.
It's genuine though, isn't it?
Yeah, he makes you feel whatever. It could be funny, it'll make you cry. And then even like you think of like a Whitney Houston, who of course you can't deny her vocal prowess, but the part that really made her a phenomenal singer was the fact that she can make you feel whatever it is she's communicating. That's a great singer to me, you know. Emote. You have to make me really bring me into your story. Yeah, that's not easy for everybody. But
you're dead right, and I think it's probably a learning, and I think it's also a confidence thing as well, having the ability to just, you know,
keep returning to Willie Nelson. I read his autobiography last spring, I think, or something like that, and in it he was talking about, because he wrote Crazy, and he talked about Patsy Cline having that same struggle, because the way, you know, his phrasing is Willie phrasing, always has been. And so he would sing in a certain way, and she's like, I just can't get this. And he said, well, stop trying to do it like I do. How would you do it? And then it's kind of like flipped a switch in her brain. And
the psychology,
yeah, off and running. I think any singer, it would do them well to learn that, whether you use it or not all the time.
It's interesting you say that, because a lot of the time when I'm writing melodies to other people's lyrics, obviously I sometimes need to change the flow of the lyrics, or cut a word here and there, or substitute a word with an extra syllable to make sure that it doesn't sound shoehorned into the phrase, so it sounds cool and natural. But it's kind of strange how you get stuck in your own head that there's only one way that you can say that. You know, there's only one way that you can structure the rhythm in that line, and I become blinkered to that sometimes, because I'll send this out to a session singer, and they'll come back with the original phrase, and it sounds absolutely perfect. So I have to be aware of my own weaknesses and preconceptions, if you like, as to getting stuck. Does that make sense?
Absolutely does. And because co-writing with people, when we would bounce things back and forth, there's a few of us who, like, if you and I were writing and I would sing it one way and then you'd bring it, it's like, well, don't worry about what, and they're like, they've even said that to me, like, well, the way you phrase that, I really like that, but I'm not sure, you know, it doesn't feel comfortable. I'm like, well,
you change the meaning with you just
possibly, but go ahead. Like, if you and I were to record the same song, do it the way you would, and I'll do it the way I would, and that's beautiful. I think there's a cool piece to that, I guess. Yeah. So that's a fun part about creating together, where, like, it opens up doors nobody really, if you're willing to go there, it opens up doors that you didn't even know existed.
Definitely,
I think.
definitely. So, I mean, one of the things that I do with some clients that has been really successful is doing what we're doing now, Ted, you know, through a Zoom call type thing, where I can feed the audio in a reasonably high quality through to the customer's feed, and, you know, we can share the screen so they can see the project up, and we can go through it sort of line by line, and I can, you know, record the stuff on my mic, so it's done in real time together. Sometimes that can be helpful, because as you'll know, the subjectivity of talking about music in words it can really be difficult.
I mean, you even did that with one of the songs that from my upcoming record, Welcome Home, where you sent me a video to kind of explain some of where you were going with things, and I would have loved it even without that, frankly. But for me, and it was around Christmas time, and it was just a cool gift for me to sit and watch you talk, because I'm like, we've never met, and so I'm like, this is so great. I watched that thing so many times just because I'm like, oh, he's talking to me.
The video is, I use video a lot with clients. It's just easier, and you know, at first I was, but make sure my hair's right, and, you know, and all the rest of it.
COVID's probably helped with that, because we're all looking like, I did just wake up, but it doesn't change much throughout the day for me anyway. So.
Well, there's no barbers open in the UK,
right?
But so I'll just turn the video on. I think it shows. It just, if you're a client and you're perhaps a little bit nervous about your baby, you know, your song. You don't know. You're actually anxious about sending it to somebody else to judge it. Listen, I really like these lines. Here are a few ideas. you know what I mean? And I think that
Yeah.
says to the client, okay, he's taking me seriously.
I'd done a lot of things before I started working with you, but I've been so far out of doing anything besides in my little studio in my house alone. Up until recently, probably the last 3 years now, I've been more interacting with other people, whether it be a band setting or collaborating with other people. You were one of the first ones to kind of do that, and so there is a vulnerability that comes in, and it's like, oh, well, is this even good enough for somebody to entertain working with? And so if you're getting a lot of people they're kind of starting out or haven't done this much or haven't done it with others, which I think FIVERR is a great setting for something like that. You've always handled it very gracefully with me, and I think that's a cool thing. I always feel like I've been treated well, and that's a nice thing. So yeah,
I think just as a warning to anybody who might watch this and then have a look on FIVERR, I think it's worth saying there are lots and lots of people. So if you're going on FIVERR for a guitarist, you'll probably find, I don't know, 3,000 guitarists to sift through. So,
well, one thing about you, and not to keep praising you, but I'm sorry, I'm going to do it. Okay, one thing about you, and this, you bring up a great example. You had a lot of examples. Okay, so I could actually hear what you do. I don't think I'm going to offend anybody. If you're selling on FIVERR and you don't have an example, get an example.
I was just going to have a quick look to see how many jobs I've done now on FIVERR. 1,360 tracks.
That's awesome. We've done, man, I mean, of those 1,360,
You want to have a look?
about 20, maybe 20 years. I don't know. It's a lot. I went through all of them over the years, and I think I'm missing one of them because I did a Wilco cover and had you play steel on it, which I should put that back out. That was cool. But yeah, you played on it like a lot of this new record I'm putting out, and we've done various songs over the years, and it's been incredible. 1,000 songs. Wow. So I'm coming to England. Dang it! I'm gonna figure it out.
There are opportunities. I play in a duo, an acoustic duo. Back in 2008, over on the east coast of Canada, we had a completely bizarre spell of attention. So one of our songs got played on a radio show on the east coast. We thought it was one of these like tiny little local radio stations. Turned out it was CBC. Broadcast over Nova Scotia and all the rest of it.
Wow.
Confusion. Anyway, long story short, it's led to us being able to go over there and tour every year, just for a short period. So we've probably been over maybe 12 times since then. Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, Cape Breton, those sort of places. We'd hooked up with a CBC host who was sort of had played our record in the first place, a guy called Stan Carew. He came out to do some shows with us. Now, because he was an employee of CBC, he couldn't be seen to be using his notoriety as a CBC presenter to sort of make personal money. And so what he did was we went out and we did these fundraiser shows in some pretty big theatres and school halls and that kind of thing. That gave Graham and I, my performing partner, an idea. So when we came back to the UK, we started putting together these shows in what we would call local community halls. So village halls, community centres, those kind of places, which often were run down and were needing sort of renovation, were short of money and short of fundraising activities. So we went out and we were doing these gigs completely for free. And it was just the buzz of playing to a listening audience. And I think that was the difference, because playing to even if it's 30 or 40 people in a hall who've paid a ticket to come and see you, rather than playing in a bar where you just wallpaper music. We wanted people to listen to the words, and we're not a loud band. It was gentle, home-written country, Americana, folk kind of stuff, and with stories and lots of talking, and it was like a show. And so we slowly built up this collection of village halls in our county where we are, and sort of the surrounding counties. So we got about 60 or 70 halls where we would sort of go around to each one maybe once every 2 or 3 years. And it wasn't entirely selfless. We did quite well out of merchandise, selling CDs as well, because because people came to these shows not necessarily because they'd ever heard of us. It was it was to support the hall, and the charity. But through that, we got quite a big emailing list, and we managed to secure the opportunity to be able to play our music without having to, go into contracts with folk clubs, and it just worked for us. So returning to the point that I had was, so we'd got this kind of collection of venues, small but really niche little places, to play.
Yeah.
And we've shared that with a few international artists over the years. We're just hoping it'll start again once this.
Yes. Yeah. I think I'm going to ask I just kind of had some kind of rapid fire type questions we can kind of move into, and some of them will be ridiculous. I told you I was trying to get as dumb as possible. So we'll start with this one I'm asking everybody, and there's a reason why I thought I'm going to keep it in every one. But what's your favorite song of all time?
Oh, gosh. I'll tell you, okay, this is shooting from the hip because it's a difficult one, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I'm going to say Vince Gill, Paul Franklin, pedal steel, whenever you come around. There's an acoustic version that they did on an American TV show I saw once, and it was that particular version. I mean, Vince Gill, his delivery is lovely, as you can imagine. Very simple, understated. Yeah. But just if anyone wants to watch it, just watch Paul Franklin. See if you can find the link and watch Paul Franklin. He is it's for me, playing the pedal steel. It's more because it's unlike any other instrument there, because everything is guesswork. Literally everything. Obviously the intonation is dependent upon the exact position of the bar on the strings, and that can change. And one of the first things that completely freaked me out when I first bought a pedal steel is there's this thing called cabinet drop that people won't know about. Right. I'll try and explain it. So when you've got a big piece of wood, effectively with a bit of a metal frame, with 12 strings on that are really tight, when you press a pedal or a knee lever or whatever to change the tension on the strings, the whole thing flexes. It's supposed to just move one string, but the reality is you get a thing called cabinet drop. And so the people don't think about it. So every time you press something to stop everything else going out of tune, you have to kind of realign everything. It's just such a difficult and wonderful thing to play. Yeah.
There's probably more finesse than just playing a chord or bending a string on the guitar. Yeah.
Oh, honestly, it's like an infinite playground as well, because if you think about it, just playing a slide by, where none of the strings change pitch at all is already a challenge, if you like, a beautiful challenge. But every time you press, one of the pedals or knee levers, the whole playground changes, because all of the intervals change between the strings and notes, and you're in an entirely different village, And then you press two pedals at the same time, and you've got a common. Watching Paul Franklin in that particular track, and some of the phrases that he plays, you can see he is in no man's land. He doesn't. I mean, that's one of the wonderful things about Paul Franklin. He has no idea where he's going, but he always manages to just land it. So he makes the listener, or he makes me sort of worried. Oh, where on earth is he going with? And then he'll just knock it solid.
That's great.
He'll just resolve it, and you go, oh yeah, that's the one.
I'll look for that version for sure. Vince Gill, Paul Franklin. Yeah, do that. Thank you. Yeah, it's a great pick. Hey, I've asked that question of everybody I'm interviewing, and I don't think I have an answer myself. Your favorite song of all time, Uncle L. It changes, every day practically. So
it does.
Yeah. Okay, here's one. This is a very important question. If you were to die and then come back as a musical style, what musical style would that be, and why?
In a musical style?
Yes. You're not coming back as a tree or a frog or you're coming back as a musical style. Just pretend it's possible.
Okay. It's got to be it's got to be bluegrass, I think.
Ah, bluegrass. Yeah. Why?
I love the simplicity. I love the simplicity of the just simple plagal cadences. You know, I very seldom wander into augmented and diminished and sus4s and stuff. The deep satisfaction I get through clever, nice harmonies, you know, down to the river to play stuff.
Yeah.
Pray, not play. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. I love bluegrass banjo. I love playing banjo.
Right.
And I just, it would be, and I think it's the root of so many forms of music as well.
Yeah, it's interesting using the term simplicity with bluegrass. I guess just for me, my mind, and when I listen to bluegrass,
it's not technically easy.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, oh my gosh, the musicianship is, whoa, yeah, it blows my mind. Yeah.
No, okay, from a sort of melodic and chordal perspective, the way it's structured, you know, you'll get a 1, 4, 5 if you're lucky, a 6.
Right.
God, yeah, the skill in which it's executed is phenomenal.
Absolutely. Yeah. Why did you not choose K-pop or bro country? I'm kidding. You don't have to answer. Do you even know what bro country is?
No.
Good.
Is that like...
Don't look it up. I have another question. Do you think all Americans are dumb?
It wasn't much to look at, but it had a heart of gold.
No.
Don't. I'm kidding. I think some Americans, dumb Americans, think we go to another country and people think we're all dumb. And I don't think that's true. And for me, because I like the whole idea of being dumb, I would play it up in more of a, as long as I'm not arrogant and offensive, just be as dumb as possible, you know? I don't know. So you don't think we're all dumb? Just me?
I know plenty of Americans, and I work with plenty of Americans, and I don't know any of them that are dumb, to be honest.
Okay, so you mentioned 1,000, and I forget what the exact number was. It was over 1,000 songs. How many different artists have you worked with? Do you know? Do you have that list?
No, I've never sort of had the count of how many clients, because an awful lot of the clients are, just unknown singer-songwriters who are just having fun, you know. I'm going to share. Can I share one story with you? This is, and whether the people who are watching this will believe it or not, I'm not sure. But I did a few jobs for a guy who lived in Hawaii, and it was just like I think it was full production tracks, but nothing too heavy. And we were getting on okay. And this guy says, I've told my producer about you, and he said he wanted a word with you. So I sort of said, great, okay, we'll get him to drop me a line or whatever, and didn't really think anything of it. I did a couple more jobs for him, and he said, he really wants to hook up with this producer. And I did nothing to follow it up at all. And then one morning, he'd sent me a link. He'd sent me this guy's name, and again, it meant nothing to me. Anyway, I was just bored at work, and I Googled this guy's name, and the homepage that came up was a picture of a studio in Nashville, and it was a big studio, and it had got swanky doors. And I thought, okay, I'll agree to have a chat with this guy. So I sent him a message, and sure enough, within about half an hour, I got a FaceTime call from him. So I'm sat with my phone in the office at work, and I told everybody else to clear off. I'm just got having this chat with him. And this guy came on, and we started having a chat, and we were talking about, this client that I've been working with, and he was happy with the work I'd done. And then slowly but surely he started to reveal these things about himself that made me want to wee my trousers. Because and he was revealing these things not in an arrogant or show off way. It was almost like a casual thing. He was telling me about this country rock band he started playing with, back in the early 70s. This country rock band, the Eagles.
Oh wow!
And so it turns out that this guy is a guy called Jim Ed Norman, He was the guy who did the orchestration, recorded with the Eagles on, Desperado, an Olympic studio in London back then.
Okay,
And
sure.
since then, he was the CEO of Warner. So he managed Jennifer
Wow.
Warren, Kenny Rogers, all of these names that I'm thinking, what the heck
Wow.
is going on with me, mate? You've got
Right.
all these people that you, and I still have no idea really what he wanted. I did a few jobs for him. He was working at the time for Curb Records out in Nashville.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
so I did a few tracks for him, but goodness knows why he was using me as opposed to Nashville musicians. And we've sort of kept on the odd email through, but it just makes me giggle that that I've even had a chat with this guy of such magnificent sort of musical pedigree that he wants to talk to a 2-bit fireman in Staffordshire who's got a bit of a studio.
Yeah, that's great. So I think lesson learned is if you want to impress someone, have swanky doors. However, you better have earned those swanky doors, right? Yeah. And you said "we my trousers." So I did that. Was not lost on me. I love that. We my trousers. We don't use words like you guys have much better phrases. We have "don't you know" and those kind of things I hear up in the Midwest.
Do you ever use the word crikey?
No. I didn't know that is that a British thing? I thought that was Australian.
No, well, I discovered that the last time I went to rent a van in Canada on the last tour. We were standing there waiting with the guy, in the rental booth and doing all the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he said something, I can't remember what it was, something to do with the price. And I just said, "Oh, crikey!" And he completely stopped. He looked up and he said, "Did you just say crikey?" And the guy was just cracked up. What have we done? What have we said?
I'm sure I have something. I'm sure we have some little term,
Well, listen, if it makes you feel any better, I spend most of my time trying to sing in a fake American accent, a fake country American accent, which feels so unnatural. In fact, I recently did a song. It was actually written to support the local NHS frontline workers, in the hospitals here.
Oh yes, I heard that. That's great. I'll put a link to that when this airs because that is really great.
Did you see the song? Yeah.
Yep.
One of the problems I had with that was all of a sudden I realised that I didn't need to sing in an American accent. I could just use my standard, and it felt really unnatural. Just singing in a straightforward British accent makes you sound like a false English accent somehow. Trying to.
Oh yeah, I can't even attempt it. I've lost the ability to do any kind of. Well, they never sounded good accents. Toby, I appreciate you. This was really fun, and there will be more music for sure. And
I'm going to ask you a question.
Sure.
What guitar do you play?
For my acoustics, I have actually not the most high buck guitars. I use two of them. I have a Martin, and I forget which one it is. It's a lower grade Martin, but it's made up. It's real wood, and so that gets kind of a darker tone. And then I have an Epiphone Masterbuilt that I bought because I needed this. I dropped my Martin, and I got a couple cracks in it, and I didn't get them repaired because I thought, well, I'm just going to let this thing, just make sure that it's not getting worse, right?
Yeah.
But I need another guitar because what if? I don't know things, and what if? And so I bought this cheaper Masterbuilt, and I love it. It's a lot brighter, and it's not a really nice Gibson by a long shot, but it works pretty well, and I record with it, and it's as long as I could get it taken care of every now and then, so the intonation's on, it's not bad. That's my acoustics, and then I have a Tele, and then I have I think it's a Sheridan, Epiphone Sheridan for electric, and then a friend of mine just built me I grew up loving Kiss as a kid.
Yeah.
Paul Stanley played the Ibanez Iceman, like later, maybe he started playing in the 80s, I don't know. He built me one, so it's a Tom Carlin Iceman. He did a lot of versatile things, so I can change it. It's not just a heavy chunky guitar, but
cool.
It's fun, yeah. And then you like the Stella guitar. You have, how many guitars do you have? Do you have as many guitars as songs you've done?
Not quite. No, I don't know. I've over the years, you collect them, so I most of the guitars, I would say 90% of them earn their keep. They wipe their own arse, to use a phrase. So I mean, it's like the Stella only comes out. Have I used the Stella on one of yours? I think I did, didn't I?
Yep.
It only comes out every now and again. It's actually just over there in the corner. I'll go and get it. Hang on a second.
Yeah.
So the Stella is, it sort of looks like a toy, you know? It does look like a toy.
Or a little parlor guitar type of thing almost.
Yeah, but I mean, it's square neck, obviously. So
yeah.
it was built for slide. There's no truss rod, so everything you're kind of really careful with it. It makes a noise that one of the things about music these days is we have. I mean, I've got a synthesizer here to my right and stuff. You know, it's so easy to find every sound under the sun, isn't it? Samples and loops and things, but you know, you find with real instruments, just they make noises that you can't make any other way, and you can't phrase. You know, this thing has got a really quite a raspy sound on the top D string.
Yeah.
And when I first bought it, I sort of said to the guy, you know, there's something wrong with it, you know, physically. I don't know if it's on the heel or the bridge, but something. And he was going to fix it, and I said, no, let's leave that, because it's 70 years old, and it's part of its character. So yeah, there's that. I've got a number of different dobros that sound the same. I keep them in different tunings. It's the obvious things, Ted, isn't it? When you're recording, you know, new strings for one, change your strings every sort of 3 or 4 weeks. That's what I tend to do, depending on how busy I am.
I'm the opposite. I tend to leave strings on. I think there's like your ears get used to whatever it is, right? So if you're used to newer strings are brighter, and I tend to be used to the kind of this. Maybe it's like a worn-out shoe. It's comfortable, you know, and I don't know what it is. So yeah.
For me, it's about intonation, really. You know, the strings tend to use the intonation a lot, and I find that if the strings tend to get old, they don't hold the tune as well, or they don't tune consistently up the fretboards.
So when I'm fretting chords wrong, I can blame it on my old strings now.
Absolutely, and the capo. You can blame it on the capo too.
Yep.
Sure.
Absolutely. Well, this has been great. This has really been great. I thank you for that. And I've taken so much of your time too, and yeah.
We've got plenty of time here at the moment. I won't be going out anywhere.
That's true. Toby, thank you so much.
I would give anything, just to be with you. 1, 2, 3, 4. He wasn't much to look at, but he had a heart of gold. He'd give the shirt off his back just to keep you from being cold.